And we're live. What is going on, everyone? It's Alonna with 570 Press, and I am back for another podcast. Today, I am with Mikey Rotten, talking about some new music he's got going on, his new EP. So, how are you today?
I'm great. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty well. It's pretty cold where I am, so, just chilling, making do with, the impending weather.
Yeah, the impending doom.
Yeah, for sure. So let me first start off by asking, how did you come up with the name Mikey Rotten?
Um, it's a good question. Basically, I started doing rap music after I kind of stopped DJing, producing, and I I made a rap name for a joke song I made, and it kind of stuck for a while, but it wasn't like that good of a name. And then it started to get a little bit more serious, and I was like, fuck, I might really be able to do some shit with this rap stuff. And so I needed to come up with a better name. And I wanted it to be, I didn't want to have to be somebody I wasn't, you know? So I just went with like my actual name, and I was like, what's something I can add to the name? I thought of like old MySpace names. Like there was this girl that was my homie's girlfriend's cousin named Nikki Metal, and she was real popular on MySpace. And I was like, damn, I need like a MySpace type name. And then I was like, what fits my personality? And I was like, well, I'm a shithead, shit talker, you know? So, and then I thought of Rotten, and then it reminded me of the Sex Pistols, Johnny Rotten. I was like, all right, that's hard. I'm just going with that.
Hell yeah. I was hoping that there was going to be a Sex Pistols reference in there. I love the Sex Pistols.
Yeah, when I was young, I liked him a lot. I didn't like follow him hugely or anything. Like I don't know every song, but like I liked the movement. I liked a couple of the main songs, and I liked the way that Johnny Rotten spoke on interviews. And he is kind of a shit talker himself, but with substance, I guess you would say. And I kind of respected that, so kind of tried to pull from that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. I understand that. So you mentioned before that you were a DJ and a producer. Coming from a similar background myself, I was curious as to what made you make the transition into rapping yourself.
Well, growing up, I grew up on like going to like hardcore shows, punk shows, like pop punk, emo type of shows all the time. And then I decided I wanted to do music, but I couldn't find anybody who was serious about starting a band and so on and so forth. And at the time, I was just doing like a lot of graffiti. I was really into graffiti art and street art and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
And my homie came back from Florida and brought some ecstasy, and he was like, "Bro, you gotta try this shit." He's like, "I've never tried it. We'll try it together." So we all basically took ecstasy, and he had like a little DJ set up, and we started playing like dance tunes and shit off of it. And we're like, "Yo, this shit's lit," you know, all geeked up. And then started DJing for years, and I feel like low key the drug use fueled the DJ production stuff for a while, or at least made me like interested in like the weird sounds and the trippy shit and the dancey kind of shit. And
Mm-hmm.
then as I got older, I kind of stopped doing drugs like that and just smoke weed and stuff. And then I don't know, I just like lost interest in like electronic dance music and like bass music and experimental stuff, and it was like hard to get myself to work. So like I asked myself like what really inspired me even to do music, and I thought back to like all the hardcore shows and shit like that. And I felt like the current rap scene is like a mirror image of that scene, but just with rap music now. So it was like I just followed the passion.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I love that. I respect that. And it's interesting that you said that the drug use kind of fueled at the time it was fueling your sound and what you were interested in at the time. I've seen a bunch of musicians say that. Like sometimes they said, like for example, the Beatles, when the Beatles were doing all that LSD, they created some of the biggest hits of their lives. So I'm not advocating for it, but I could absolutely understand what you're saying because I've heard that before from other artists as well.
Yeah, I feel like when you're geeked up, you listen to the music different. You feel it deeper, you know. You are a little bit more empathetic to it. There's less layers you got to peel back to get to the real sauce, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. It's kind of like, when Steve Jobs said, dropping acid like opened his mind. It kind of is kind of like that. A lot of people say it opens them up. It makes them, more open-minded, makes them pay attention more.
Yeah, I kind of look at acid as like a magnifying glass for the feelings, if that makes sense. It's like all of your senses, including your emotional senses as well as your physical senses, are just heightened, you know. Like if I'm on acid, like I feel the tiny little cut in my finger, and I like am hyper aware of like how it's making me feeling, even the healing process. Like, or like I'll eat acid and I'll feel like, oh damn, my knee's fucked up, and I'll just want to like massage it and move my knee and stretch it until it feels better. And it's like when you're sober, in my head, like food is drugs too. So if you're geeked up off a bunch of cheeseburgers, like you're gonna be numb to like the awareness of self, you know.
Right. Yeah, totally. So you recently released Against All Ops, which love it, by the way.
Thank
I
you.
noticed in Tom George's email, he said for fans of Sex Pistols. So again,
Hey.
Sex Pistols reference, love it. Um, so how did you come to write that song? Was that kind of like a quarantine song? Was that post quarantine? Was
Well,
that kind of something
the
that came?
Against All Ops is an EP, so it would be. Are
Right.
you referring to a specific song on the EP?
No. I meant the EP as a whole.
Oh yeah, all right, bet. Um, to be honest, I was watching Cobra Kai,
Hell yeah.
and I just really, you know, today's society and the kids are like, everybody wants a sickness, everybody wants like a mental illness, or they want like, everybody wants to be from the hood, everybody wants to like have some sort of excuse for their negligence, you know what I mean? And like when I saw Cobra Kai, it was like the main dude, Johnny, fuck, I can't think of his last name, but he's just
Lawrence.
like, yeah, Johnny Lawrence. He's just like a shit talking piece of shit who calls it like he sees it, you know what I mean? And even though he's like a piece of shit, he's still like fighting to help the kids. He's still like trying to inspire these kids to be as strong as they can be, to like find their inner strength, you know what I mean? And it's like
Right.
he doesn't care about the bullshit. Like he doesn't care about the, like there's one sample that I sampled off the show where he's like, are you retarded? And he's like, well, my doctor said I could be on the spectrum. And he's like, he says something like trying to think of the exact phrase, but he's like what? Like he just doesn't understand. And then he's like, I don't know what that is, but get off it pronto, you know what I'm saying? And it's just
Yeah.
like, I feel like if it's a spectrum, then everybody's on the spectrum. They may not be on the good side of it, or they may be on the bad side of it, you know what I mean? Or vice versa. But like the idea is that everybody's got their problems, everybody's got their adversities. It's about finding your inner strength and pushing past the adversities and pushing past the difficulties and like being as strong as you could be. Like I just wanted to do a project that like basically said, just, you know, don't be a pussy. You know,
Yeah.
like, but in layman's terms, like stop being a pussy, stand up for yourselves, find your inner strength, and like fight for what you believe in, you know what I mean? That was
Yeah.
kind of the idea of the project and what inspired me to do the project.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and you know what? I love that, like you mentioned with Cobra Kai. I loved it. Um I'm hoping that we get another season of it, but and I can understand what you're saying with like, the don't be a pussy aspect because I live by that motto too. I try and do shit and I'm like, don't be a pussy, just fucking do it. Live your life, do what makes you happy, all that shit.
Yeah, I feel like growing up riding BMX and skateboarding, I'm like a real universal kind of guy. So it's like if I find a principle within one subject, like I try and see how that principle correlates to
Right.
everything, you know? And like I remember like sitting in front of a stair set going to skate like a stair set I was never skated before that was bigger than what I'd ever did before. And I remember the feelings of like, damn, am I really about to do this? Like, and you have to like believe in yourself and like make that full commitment to do it. Or like riding BMX trails, like sitting at the top of the hill, like about to go down these huge trails with jumps with 15, 20-foot gaps and jumping 25 feet in the air, you know? And
Right.
it's like, it's not difficult. Like, it's actually really easy. Like, you just ride down the fucking hill and you go off the jump and you hold on and you try and put your tires on the landing, you know? It's not like a feat that other people couldn't accomplish in a short amount of time. It's just most people don't have the commitment and the balls and are willing to take the risk and the leap of faith to like accomplish those type of things, you know? And I always like reflected off those times on other levels of reality, you know? And it's like I just feel like believing in yourself, going for gold, full commitment, you know what I mean? Like those type of things are what you need to succeed, you know?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. It's funny. I was talking with my mom's boyfriend today, and he was telling me a story about Bobby Vinton. And I'm not sure if anybody listening would even know who the hell that is. He was a singer from like the 50s and 60s. And he got denied by every record label he submitted his music to. Every single one, turn him down, turn him down, turn him down, turn him down. So all of a sudden, he goes and he creates this album and he's marketing it, and he meets with this label exec. The label exec looks at him and he says, "Are you on a record label?" And he said, "No." And the label exec says, "Well, who's paying for this?" And Bobby Vinton looks the record exec in the eye and goes, "You are." And the exec goes, "Welcome aboard." And that's how he got signed, because he believed
Oh,
in himself. He
I
never
like that.
stopped. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty interesting. I didn't even know that. And I looked it up, and that was a real story. I was like, wow, fuck.
Yeah, I think that commitment and confidence and believing in yourself is like one of the criteria for success, you know. It's like even for the emo people who seem like they don't believe in themselves, they wouldn't really be still doing it if they didn't, you know.
Right. And some of the people who, as you said, seem like they don't believe in themselves, well, they have to maintain the image, everything's terrible. I hate my town. I hate my job, but I'm the most successful band in the fucking world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So completely understand that. So moving on, who are some influences for you, obviously, aside from the Sex Pistols and the skating and BMX scene growing up? Who are some other musical or personal influences for you and your music?
Um I would say first off, like my peers a lot, like, you know, like the big homies who are putting me on, the little homies who like talk me into keep making this style of tunes I'm making. Shout out Big Esco, shout out Eddie Baker, Xavier Wolf. Um, but also like some of the bands that I used to listen to growing up, like Life Ruiner, and I'm trying to think of who else, like even like kind of like Blink 182, you know, and how they were just like they were mainstream, but they're still like weird and unique, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, fuck, there's a lot out there. You know what I mean? I get inspired by a lot of people all the time. I would say that I'm inspired by events or inspired by situations frequently, more often than other people, you know. But I feel like inspiration can be like viewed and found in a lot of different ways. Like, you know, I see some dude on the street like hustling water, you know, and it's like, damn, he's like really out here getting it however he can, no questions asked. Like, you know, like that type of shit inspires me, you know. Uh, but at the same time, I don't know, like I just have so many different influences and inspirations, you know. It's kind of hard to give a solid answer, but I would say mostly like my homies and my peers, you know, like when I'm making music, the goal isn't necessarily like to flex on the fans. It's to flex on the homies, like, you know. It's like all the homies, they gonna think this one's crazy, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, it's like more of a inner circle kind of thing, I feel like, a lot of times.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I respect that. And it's always this one's for the homies, This is for the homies. They're gonna go crazy, they're gonna love this shit. Hell yeah.
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 Or a lot of times I'd say that the fans inspire me too, you know. Like when I go to a show and they're going hard to like one of my tracks, or like I go to a show and I see them going hard for like another artist, you know. It's like that collaboration and energy between the artist and the fans, like that itself inspires me too.
Hell yeah. Love that. Love that. So, in terms of shows, where can fans, people who may not have heard of you and may want to check you out, where can we catch a show?
Um in the US for now. I mean, I'm all over, you know, like I played 2 shows in LA, heading out to Arizona to play 2 shows in Arizona. And then I'm going to start tour probably in the spring, probably start off in the Midwest or the East Coast, Indianapolis or DC, depending on if I start in Midwest or East Coast. So I'm going to try and hit everywhere I can, you know, even smaller markets like OKC and Boise, Idaho, and you know what I mean, all the way to New York, you know. So
Hell yeah.
I'd
Oh
say
yeah.
just follow on Spotify, follow the social media, and you'll see the tours drop, the posts come up, you know.
Hell yeah. And make sure you stop by Scranton because we would love you out here. Seriously.
Scranton. Why do I know that name? Where's that? Is that in
The office.
Ohio?
No, it's in Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, Scranton. Is
Yep.
that near have you heard of Posh Woods or Caddy Woods?
No.
That's like the only thing I know about Pennsylvania, to be honest. They have like
Oh,
some of the
Kennywood. Kennywood. Yeah, no, that's out
no,
in
not Kenny, Caddy, Caddy.
Caddy.
Yeah, they're like, so there's I think it's in Pennsylvania, but I think it's in a small town close to Pittsburgh
Yeah.
or something, and it's like right outside the airport. They have these BMX trails. They're some of the biggest, craziest BMX trails in the world.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I've never heard of it, but that's because like where Pittsburgh is, we're like 4 hours north.
Mm,
Yeah. But
Scranton, I've heard of that
Scranton's
though.
pretty famous for the by the office. So usually when I say Scranton, people are like, "Oh, Dunder Mifflin." I'm like, yeah, let's go with that.
I guess that might have been where I heard of it. I've heard of the place before though, but I've never been.
Yeah. Well, definitely, we would love to have you out here. It's Pennsylvania's a place, but we do really appreciate the hip hop and the punk and just kind of the fusion genres, and we try to appreciate all kind of genres out here. That's what I try to do, at least, and I know that like Scranton goes crazy for new artists to come to town. They're like, holy shit, like who's this?
Yeah, it seems like all the smaller markets go crazy. Like they have more energy than places like LA and New York.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. It's because a lot of it's like the hometown love. Like we're all just like one family all together. We're like, oh my god, like new person, come be in our family. Like like that type of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for anybody who has not heard of you, what can we expect in the future? Where can we find you on social media? Anything you want to plug? Anyone you want to shout out before we go?
Shout out the homie Big Esco for fucking with me, talking me into keep making this shit. Shout out to Eddie Baker for introducing me to all the big homies. Shout out to Xavier Wolf for putting me on all the shows that he's put me on and giving me the opportunities I've gotten. Shout out to all the fans who believe in me, who fuck with my shit, who buy the merch. And I'd say you can find me on pretty much anywhere. Just type in Mikey Rotten. You can Google it. You can Spotify, Apple Music, VK, Facebook, whatever. You know, I'm on all that shit. If you want to hear the discography a little bit more organized, I'd say go to Bandcamp. Bandcamp's the move. And as far as future projects coming up, I got a project to finish off the year with. It's a 5-track EP. I got a feature from Jeffrey and his cousin Big Mari out in Memphis. And then I'm working on a project with someone. I'm not going to drop the name yet. And then I plan on touring with him in the spring. But he's an OG in this shit. And next year I plan on dropping a fucking project every other month or more if I can.
Hell yeah. Super excited. And thank you so much for talking with us. I know it was kind of a little bit of a clusterfuck trying to get this all organized and technical problems and the whole like, but it was awesome talking to you, and I'm so glad we could finally make this happen.
It's all good. Thank you for having me. Much love.
Hell yeah. You too, man. Bye.
Like, thank you.